Oh, okay, it's a great and glorious, seem to be famous. One day Nick Dash back on the camera again one more time. I know this subject's been done to death, but it's been requested of me that I do another video about how to induce an astral projection. Now, I struggled for years of trying to make it happen just through deep meditation, lying on my bed, going into trance, that sort of thing. And I wasn't very good at getting into trance in those days anyway. I still struggle over it even now, okay? But I wasn't really getting anywhere for that period of time, but I was still focusing on the idea. I still really wanted it to occur because I didn't think I could believe properly in something I hadn't experienced, which is of course intellectually flawed. But either way, that's the way I thought about it. Eventually, I got myself a copy of The Projection of the Astral Body by Muldoon and Carrington, and then I could start doing the exercises more properly. Now, one of the things that Muldoon spoke about was rehearsing, and I think rehearsing it is actually quite important. Okay, because your spirit body comes out of the physical like that, moves across like that. Obviously, silver cord connecting the head of the spirit body to the head of the physical body, or sometimes the solar plexus, whatever. And then it writes itself through one form or another. So taking that fact into account, what you do is you rehearse where you're going to stand up, which might be, let's say, 20 foot away from where the bed is in the hallway. Okay, so maybe you rehearse it. You lie on the bed when you've got nothing else to do and say, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off through projecting here. From here I will be moving upwards. I'll experience the sensation of moving upwards, and I'll experience the sensation of moving out. Then the body will become righted. I will stand where I believe the floor is, namely there, and I will then start being more conscious, because the idea is you wake up and you become conscious when you're outside of the body at that point. Okay, and so you're standing there in the corner of the room, aware of where the wall is, where the door is, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, and you tell yourself that that's where you're going to stand up. Okay, it's really important that you get that into your head. Force that in through hypnotic suggestion, meditation. That's where you're going to stand up. That place, there. All right, 10 foot away from the bed, in the hallway, by the door, near the staircase, whatever. Okay, tell yourself where it is. And then you can think about rehearsing where you're going to go when you're conscious. It's almost like you need to, or it's desirable to program yourself so you know where to go. All right, so you're not stuck with, okay, now I'm out of the body, now what do I do? So give yourself a purpose. So you could then go walk downstairs and do what you would normally do in your day-to-day life, because obviously you'd be doing it in your day-to-day life. You'd be going for a walk down the road, past the shop on the right, past the the factory on the right, then the shops on the left, past the place where the paving stones end and the tarmac pavement begins. Try and get all the little, pay attention to the little details. And then where the recreation ground starts, walking down there, the park, the sound of your feet moving on the gravel, the things you'll be walking past, the public dustbins, the kids' swings area, the little river, and then the walk back via your friend's house, and maybe you could stop out, maybe outside your friend's house and tell yourself, when I'm actually doing the projection, I will go in there and I'll speak to him when he's dreaming, and I'll say, hi there, it's Nick, I know you're dreaming, I just wanted to say hello, and I hope you'll remember to tell me about this in the morning. Okay, and then of course you go back home. Obviously you don't go into your friend's house and say that, because he'll think you're a lunatic. All right, and you don't do anything weird like ultra concentration when you're going for a walk in the park, because everyone else will think you're a lunatic. So you just do it like you would normally, because that's what you're doing. You're going for a normal walk in the park, all right? But in your mind's eye, you're telling yourself that this is where you're going to go when you're actually projected. So you've got a purpose, you've got a place to go, you've got a thing to do. It's the stress of desire or familiarity, I think that Muldoon described it as. Okay, I got rid of my copy of The Projection of the Astral Body a long time ago. So I know this stuff from memory, because it was so important to me at the time. I forced myself to learn it. I actually know more about occultism than I know about sociology now, and I did a degree in sociology, if you get my drift. I mean, this is how important the subject was to me when I was young and really trying to, thirsty for knowledge. So try and think about it like that. It's a question of, rehearsing the idea, getting it deep into your mind, into your being. And also not to be too worried about it, because putting yourself into a stressed situation about the whole thing goes contrary to astral projection, because the body's got to enter into astral catalepsy, or sleep paralysis or something like that. Okay, because there's, when you're thinking about moving, you move. Okay, I'm thinking about moving my hands now, so my hands are moving. All right, when you're asleep, You may be dreaming about talking to a camera and moving your hands, but your body will be completely and utterly, all right, because the connection between the part of the brain which deals with the movement of the body and the physical body is not there, okay, because that's how you sleep, okay. So that's why you use sleep to project rather than just trying to do it through meditation. There are, you can practice and eventually you can get some forms of projection type experiences as a result of meditation, but it's much easier to do it when you're asleep. All right, but when you're dreaming of going somewhere, the idea is your astral body is really moving in that pattern, superimposed on physical reality. All right, maybe the things you're coming across in your dream aren't there in the physical reality, but the movement of the body is superimposed upon the physical reality. Okay, the astral body is moving in relation to everything in the dream, as if the dream world will superimpose onto the physical world. So that's why you can use meditation as a means of training yourself as to where to go and how to try and make it happen. All right, I don't know if I'm making this clear, because it's actually quite complex to explain, especially if you're someone who hasn't actually had one of these things before. But this is the best stab I can do for you today. So I hope it's not too sort of like, oh my word, that guy Nicky's a fucking lunatic. He actually thinks this stuff. Well, yeah, I do think this stuff. Okay, I've experienced some stuff. It's given me some points of view which are mine now. Yeah. There you go. I think it's. I do think it's real. I've experienced some strange stuff. Okay, I can't. Of course, I can't through logic and reason and the rest of that tell you this stuff is fact. All I can say is that these are strange experiences which occur as a result of doing these exercises, okay? And the strange experiences, when they happen, prove to you that you can have a strange experience. And I want to encourage people to have more of them so they can then sort of like talk about their anecdotes and explain that, because one day this stuff might be of use to somebody, or some, science of consciousness, or the way the world works, or whatever. And will it be? I don't know. Will it happen in my lifetime? Probably not. Is it important that we... I mean, once you've had these things happen, you start to take the point of view that there's more to life, all right? That you as an individual are more than just flesh and bone, okay? And brains and neurons and stuff. You're more than that. And when you do share dreams with people, then you realize that there is, thought does not seem to be constrained to your body. Okay, so you as an individual are not constrained to your body. There's, you can reach outside of it somehow. What you are is a lot more than what other people think you are, than what you think you are, than what your body is, than what your clothes are, than what your income is, than anything. Because you're part of nature and consciousness combined, kind of thing. And it's very, very strange, especially if you were someone like me when you were a kid and you loved science. All right? And I do still love science, but also I'm someone who loves science, but also has experienced this really weird stuff. And it's very difficult to reconcile, so I just choose not to. Okay, this weird stuff happens. Okay, the weird stuff just happens. You just have to accept it in the end. It's not a question, oh, you were delusional. You don't know if you were delusional. You know you've had an experience which you define in a certain way. Culturally speaking, culture says that this is an astral projection. Okay, so I've had an astral projection experience. Define it culturally, because that's what the culture says. What does it mean? We still don't know scientifically, but we do know these things can happen, because you can just stop being a lazy bastard and start reading the books, doing the meditation and practicing, and you will start to get somewhere. All right, and it may take you years. Right? It took me a long time. Then I finally had it. And am I some kind of total professional, I can do it 100% reliably, rare? No, all the people who say that, they're fucking talking shit. Okay, they're lying. And why are they doing that? Because they want to look good on the internet. Because it makes them feel that they're special. It makes them feel they've got power over people they don't have power over. It's either because they're neurotic or because they're fraudulent or something like that. Okay. And there's too many people like that. Okay? We can, you know, there's questions. It's not answers, but there's questions. And the questions are pretty important. Because if we stop asking questions, if we stop trying to experience the world, that is an end to science. Alright? If the idea of science is I have to trust a particular person or a particular group of people just because they say so, then I think that's wrong. I think that's morally reprehensible. I think that's intellectually reprehensible. I think it flies in the face of scientific inquiry. It flies in the face of a desire to experiment. It flies in the face of just like freedom and intelligence. And I'm not going to be like that because I believe, I think some things are right and some things are wrong. But I'm also not going to be the kind of person who will turn around to you and say like, I am the great and glorious Nick Dutch. I am in charge. I am the one and only person who knows this truth and the rest of the world must obey. Yes. Because, like, that would be pretty shitty, really. I think that would really be pretty ghastly. There's lots of people who make their money that way. Just, I'm the best. Yes. I actually had a supernatural experience on the plane, and God spoke to me, and He said, "Oh yes, you're the new Jesus. Didn't you know that? Yes, yes, yes." Hey. Oh, anyway, sorry. Speak to you in a while.